Hello and welcome to this Field Technologies Online podcast. I'm Jim Roddy, the president of Jameson Publishing and Field Technologies Online. Thank you for joining us. As always, we're here to show growing organizations how to capture, generate, and retrieve data at all points of work and service. Our discussion topic today is analyzing the TCO of an enterprise-class mobile device. And our guest today to help give us an inside perspective is John Pomerleau. John is the director of the Industry Solutions Group for Field Mobility at Motorola. John, thanks for your time today.
Oh, thank you very much, Jim.
John, we're talking about enterprise-class mobile device. Can you set the stage first with your definition of enterprise class? What specifically do you mean by that?
Specifically, Jim, in this case, for enterprise class, we divide it really into two categories. One is consumer class and then the enterprise class. And the primary difference, while they will share common elements between both of them, the lines blur, especially today, the enterprise class specifically will carry some kind of enterprise-based business application beyond just email, for example. It may have a field service application component, it may have a field sales, it may have a CRM component, but it has something directly tied back into the business that the business, leveraging, information back from the business.
Got it. So there's a line of business application that's application-specific. Can you talk about some other, distinct differences, maybe one or two that are key between enterprise class and mobile and consumer-based?
Sure. Motorola being kind of in both sides of the business. In the consumer side, it's a whole different model as far as, what you produce as a manufacturer. The idea in that case is it's as much a fashion statement, frankly, as well as being on the technology leader.
Yeah.
Which means it has to change pretty quickly. So we're looking at, a 6, 8, 9 month life cycle for a device on the consumer side. The enterprise side, that's exact opposite paradigm. We really need something that we can count on as an IT organization. If I'm running this business, I'm acquiring these field service devices. I need to know that at a minimum, these things are going to be out there for a 3-year life cycle. And then I need to know you as a manufacturer, what you can do to help me to live through the next 3 years at a minimum. And oh, by the way, I also want to know what you guys are releasing in the next 12 to 16 months so I can start to anticipate that as an organization. In the consumer side of business, that's not the model at all. It's almost the you add to the buzz by having everybody guess. But that doesn't work really in the enterprise space at all. It's not the wrong way to work.
Sure. So in the consumer space, there's this cool effect to it, but there's, as far as the product roadmap on the enterprise end, people want to know a little more predictable and what's down the road. And does it tie in with how to manage it? Does that seem like that's a big difference as well in terms of how you're going to manage a consumer device versus an enterprise device?
Definitely. When you're in a consumer or when you're in an enterprise side device, you'll have usually a couple layers of security on it. You'll have the physical layer of security, where the person will have to enter a PIN or a physical gesture on the device. So you may be using biometrics to log into the device. And then there will be a device management client running on the device for a couple different things, making sure they may only have exposure to, the 2 or 3 different applications you want them to see versus everything that the device can do. Same thing whether you're using a web application or a thick client on the device. The other area, too, is the device management software has to be very light. It also has to be able to control when was the last time this thing logged into the network, who is it, you have to have VPN clients, or some kind of security client running on the device to make sure you are who you are, as well as you're going into the right server area. So, yeah, it's usually very tightly controlled.
So, John, can you talk about how you evaluate the TCO? What criteria would an IT manager use? What data should they consider looking at during their analysis?
There's a couple of areas, basically 4 areas you can break it down into. The first one is, what's the life cycle of the piece of hardware? How long do I expect it to last? How long do I need it to last? And so if I need it, for example, my paradigm is going to be, I need 3 years minimum out of this device, 4 years minimum, 5 years, maybe 7 years out of the device. So that's going to determine, the level of durability. What's the environment that this person is going to be working in? Are they a field salesperson where maybe they're just doing merchandising at the grocery store or at a department store, that kind of thing? You'll have one kind of device where they may be a part-time worker and they'll be expected to take the device home. Or am I delivering things like soda, beer, those kind of things where it's a ruggedized device and the device gets dropped, it's going to be used in the snow. They don't necessarily take it home with them and they're not going to use it as on a weekend, so to speak. But it has to be durable, it has to work every single time, and the battery life, because these guys are working 12 hours minimum a day. So we're going to take a look at that. The next area would be the peripherals. What peripherals do I need to do to make my business application functional? Do I need camera pictures? Digital pictures. Mm-hmm. Do I need barcode scanning in the device? Do I want to do some printing, external Bluetooth printing? I can't use a cable because it's impractical. So what peripherals do I need to complete my solution? The third area would be hardware model support. What's my level of support? Is it good enough for me just to keep a couple of units on hand, say 5, 7, 8% of my total population on hand, and I can just have my team here support them and they just call into the help desk? Or do I need something more robust? For example, a salesperson in Enid, Oklahoma can basically call an 800 number and a new unit is being shipped overnight with the battery and all the peripherals and the application software loaded. So literally you open up the box, turn it on, and it's ready to fly. It downloads all the latest information. The last area is, what's my support model for what I can use for device management internally and externally? How am I going to support these? How am I going to make sure I know, for example, when it's time to change out batteries and those things? What do they have the latest operating system on them? Do they have the latest application software on it? Do I need to update the credentials on the device? So those are the four main areas I want to take a look at.
Got it. And so just to recap those, we're talking the 4 areas to evaluate TCO: life cycle of the hardware, peripherals offered, the support model, and then the device management software. So good, thank you for those. And so my last question is, can you put the whole picture together for us? How do you take that data in relation to the mobile device spectrum, again, consumer grade on one end, enterprise class all the way on the other, and choose the right device for your company? How should an IT manager go about sorting through all that data?
The first way I take a look at it from the TCO model, it's very tempting for an organization to take a look at. Well, I can buy 3 smartphones for the price of a maybe durable or more ruggedized device, and the TCO question is usually one question on that: how much does this one cost? How much does that one cost? Okay, end of discussion. Well, what we find as we live through these, and we've been doing this a long time, is the biggest cost to a first-year deployment is usually associated with hardware downtime or software incompatibility with the hardware. It's usually around that. So if you take a look at it from an organization, it's more than just downloading an app or using a web app. You think about from a field person's point of view, we force this field person to use everything and do all the business activities on this mobile device. So it has to work perfectly every single time. Mm-hmm. You have to make the user experience work every single time. So, that's basically what it is. We're wrapping all this together, and we want to make sure our hardware and our software and our device management all play well together, and then we know we have a predictable life cycle and how to support it.
Got it. So you've got to take it kind of off your whiteboard if you're mapping it out there, your spreadsheet, and take it all the way back to how's it going to be used in the field and what's the problem it's trying to solve, and does it actually solve that problem, not just is it the neatest, coolest thing. Is that essentially what you're saying?
You're exactly right. I know in our business we get enamored by the latest cool device and, what came out 15 minutes ago. So you're exactly right. At the end of the day, we need to solve what's going on, take a look at our business. Let's not make this a science project. What do we need to solve, and what's going to make a difference, and what's going to ring the cash register, for the guys in the field.
And, John, can you also just talk for a little bit about the folks who read our magazine and are on Field Technologies Online? A lot of them are in larger organizations. Can you talk about, when you're making that selection in TCO, about how it ties in with a larger organization?
Sure, excellent point. A lot of times in an organization, especially in the business side, we're under a significant amount of pressure to solve a business mobility issue, field service issue. There's a big tempting desire just to solve our particular model, our particular department issue, our particular business. But it's important, as an organization, take a look at from an enterprise, okay, how is this going to fit in with our enterprise strategy? Do we have an enterprise strategy around mobility? What is it? And if it is, what does it encompass? Does it expose, or does it cover what we're trying to do? If it doesn't, take a look at how can we? Because frankly, once you take a look at, there may be 2 or 3 or 4 other areas in your business that you could leverage mobility and field service. You have a lot more clout going back to your manufacturers and your partners to say, okay, here's the total picture, and you can have a lot more smooth deployment in that regard.
Got it. Looking at the big picture as well. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Hopefully our discussion is giving you some insight into how you can analyze the TCO of an enterprise-class mobile device and how that applies to your organization. Before we go, I want to say thanks again to John Pomerleau from Motorola for joining us today. John, thank you very much.
Jim, thank you. I appreciate it.
And thanks to you so much for listening. Our goal at Field Technologies Online is to help IT decision makers optimize field workers' service and assets. For more information, please visit our website at www.fieldtechnologiesonline.com. Thanks again for listening.